Hello folks and welcome to the channel or welcome back. And in this episode we're going to look at a weird clutch problem that I had on my Formula Ford. I had it since I got the car about 2 years ago. And I never took the time to dig deeper into it. I always thought it was a misalignment of the clutch lever, but it wasn't. So let's have a look what it was all about.
You probably wonder why I'm taking my race car apart just 2 weeks before we hit the track in France, and then a week later, on 8 August, we will be in Zolder. Well, one of the reasons is that I had a bit of an issue with my gearbox or my clutch. I noticed that when I came into the pit lane, I depressed the clutch would disengage, but the car would still drag forward a little bit. Pretty weird. I didn't know exactly what it was, and if I pushed the brakes, then the car would stop, the engine would run normal. So there was some kind of a drag going on, and that can only happen if the main drive shaft, which is this one right here, has been spun around. Now there's a couple of possibilities that could cause that. So I had to split, actually, the complete rear end from the engine. And I just did that about an hour and a half ago. I didn't film it because it's just a whole bunch of bolts and nuts that you have to disconnect, and it's different for every car. So what are the possible causes for this? I've been thinking about this for quite a while. I thought it was an adjustment on the clutch pedal, but it wasn't. It isn't the master clutch cylinder. That worked fine. There were no leaks. Nothing is wrong with the hydraulics, and the linkage was all fine as well. The slave cylinder was also fine, so there was nothing wrong with that. When the engine was cold, I could actually get it into gear, drive it, stop it, and it would just do what it had to do. No issues whatsoever. But only when I had done a couple of laps when the engine was hot, I had the problem. Either I had a sticky clutch, and we'll check on that in a minute, or my guiding bearing was seized and it kept spinning the main shaft. That's a possibility. Or the pressure group was wrong. Or the pressure group bearing was wrong or had a problem. So let's have a look. So we got the flywheel, and you can see these holes that have been drilled in there. That's because the flywheel has been balanced. But if you look on the surface here, there's really nothing really wrong, except that I do believe it's a little bit blue, so it has been hot for a while, but not that bad. But there are no grooves in it, so that is good. So that cannot be the issue. The little bearing or the guide bearing is right there inside, and that rotates freely. So I don't think this can be the problem. Let's have a look on the pressure group and the actual clutch. So here's the clutch, sitting like this. Now the clutch looks good. It doesn't smell burned. So that clutch is still in a pretty good condition. There's nothing wrong with this one. In fact, it's fairly new. So nothing wrong with this. And then we got the pressure group. Again, this looks okay. There's nothing really wrong with this. It's not cracked. There's nothing strange on it. On the back side, the springs are all intact. There's no fingers that are crooked. So that is all pretty good. So this cannot be the cause of the problem. I was thinking it would have been the guiding bearing, but it is not the case. Unless it gets real hot, and it would then grab into the actual shaft, but I doubt it. So let's have a look on the other part. Now this is a bit of a adaptation or Mickey Mouse system. And in the back we got what we call the throwout bearing. Now there's a little piece here in the front, which I don't know what it is exactly. It looks like an extension they made at some time, just to mate things up, I believe. And this one, of course, is not a bearing, right? I mean, this is just pure metal which is grabbing onto the fingers of the pressure plate. I don't like that too much, but that's the way it is. But then if I look inside here, here is our actual bearing. But look what happened. Actually, it has a lot of wear and tear, and this ring broke off. And now, I don't know what this ring would have done, but that certainly isn't right? And you can see that the wear and tear is right there. So, could that have been the problem? Who knows? This is how it's supposed to work. It has to come forward and then depress the clutch. Not too far, just a little bit. Now, I don't know how far this goes, and that's why I want to measure it. So let us measure a few things and see what the situation really is. So with everything installed, I measure 10 centimeters from the edge of the throwout to the edge of the gearbox or the bell house. So now let's measure the same thing on the pressure group, on the fingers, towards the engine block. And I measure 9. So that means I have 1 centimeter between the fingers of the pressure group and actually the throwout bearing. My conclusion is that we really have an issue here with this throwout bearing. You can see there's a piece of brass that came off and it's worn out, that's for sure. So let's remove it and see. See if we can get this removed. There we go. And here it is. So I think the throwout bearing has had better days. You see how this is worn out, and that's just because it's been rubbing here. You can see the damage right there. So if I take the other part, you'll see that fits right in there. See? So that's the part that has been worn out. Not a good thing. So we'll have to replace this. All right. So also, there's a lot of play on this guy. Look at that. So that is really not all that good. So yeah, we need to replace this. I have to admit, I'm still a little bit baffled about what the real cause is, but for sure this throwout bearing is gone, so that's something we'll replace. So I'm going to get a new throwout bearing, that's for sure. We're also going to get a new clutch plate and a new pressure group while everything is open, and a new guidance bearing. Hopefully that will fix the issue, and then we'll make sure that we adjust everything properly now that we have measured the distances. Because I know that the throwout bearing is sitting with the extension about 10 centimeters from the edge of the engine block, and at the clutch, the pressure plate is 9, so we have 1 centimeter of play there. So I have plenty of adjustment, and I don't need to depress it that far down anyway to release the clutch, probably about 1 centimeter. So that's 2 centimeters. I think that will actually. We're pulling out that little bearing, and here it is. Right. Brake cleaner always works fine for this kind of work. I'm not sure what this piece is there. I believe we have found the real cause. If I measure how deep the shaft is sitting inside this casing, it's about 2 millimeters. It's a little bit recessed. Now, if I'm looking on the engine block, the crankshaft is sticking out a bit more. This is the crankshaft, and you can see this is where the guidance bearing is sitting. But then I have an edge there, you see that? And that edge is sitting 3 millimeters more forward than the actual facing here. So in other words, my drive shaft of the gearbox is going to sit very close to this edge here. I don't even know why there is an edge. There shouldn't be one. So whenever things get warm, metal will expand and it's going to grab that shaft on the gearbox, and that's why the car is kind of crawling forward at that moment in time when we disengage the clutch. So it had nothing to see really with the clutch pressure group or the throwout bearing or anything like that. It is really that issue right there. So what I'm going to do is trying to drill that out a little bit if I can, but I have to be very careful not to damage anything. I have a 20mm drill here, and this is not really something I want to do, but I have no option here. So I'm going to try to get rid of that ridge. Oops. Gotta be careful not to enlarge the hole too much, but I think this starts to work.
I'm just taking off a little bit of the metal on that edge there inside. I don't even know why that edge is there. It shouldn't be there. So this now feels a lot better, and I actually have double checked it, how deep it is. So now we should be okay. So there's no way that the shaft can now be stuck against the crankshaft in the back. So I hope we have fixed the problem.
So now we're just waiting for the parts. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.